Hi and welcome to this Ucommerce masterclass. My name is Mads and I'm going to walk you through the browse category navigation exercise. Before we get started on the exercise, we need to make sure that we have a Sitecore environment up and running like this with Ucommerce installed on top. I also installed the accelerator from Ucommerce, so if I navigate to the root, I will get Avenue closing up and running here. This is mostly to get a lot of commerce data that we can work on doing this masterclass. So when we are going to build up our store here, we need of course to have that configured inside Sitecore here. So when we are going to create the category navigation, we need to make sure that Sitecore is ready for that. So we need of course to set up our own storefront inside Sitecore so we can put in our category navigation on that page. So I'll navigate into the content editor here to prepare Sitecore for handling our new store. So the first thing I will need to do is to create a new template. I will create one underneath user defines here, right click, insert new template. And then I will call this one master class template. Just like that. And save it underneath user defined. Just like that. Now, when I have my masterclass template, I'm actually ready to create the content nodes. And as you can see underneath the content section here, Avenue closing is already here. So I can right click on the content, insert from template. And then I can create a new content node based on the template that we just created underneath user defined here. Masterclass underscore template. And I can give it a name. I'll call it store. Insert that. There we go. But then we also need to make sure that this store is actually using the layouts that are being populated from our Ucommerce for Sitecore masterclass solution down here. We have updated the deploy -local file here to make sure that it points at our root of our website. So whenever we build this solution, it will push the changes that we have made to our storefront. Underneath the website, we have a folder called controllers, and in here we have a masterclass home controller. This is the one that we want to make sure is responsible for delivering the homepage for the store item that we have just created. So to do that, I have selected the store, then I will click on view, enable standard fields and raw values. And then we have the layout section down here where we can specify which controller should be responsible for rendering the layout. So we can take the masterclass home, copy that, and pass it into the controller field here and save the item. Now when the item has been saved, we should be able to navigate to the node on our storefront here. And when we have this blank page, everything has been set up correctly. Before we dive into the code, let's take a look at Ucommerce first in the back office of Sitecore here. And into the catalog manager, where we have all the catalog data. We have the store, where we can create new stores by right-clicking on stores, create product catalog group. And on a store, we can configure what definition the store should have. In Ucommerce, we use the definition system to enrich our type with new fields to help you describe all the needed data that belongs to that concept, in this case a store. We will dive a lot deeper into the definition system and how to work with it during the masterclass here. Then we have the host name field here. It is set as default right now, but as you can see, there's a lot of options down here. This is the one that you want to use when you want to support multi-channel functionality. For example, if you want to present your products or category differently depending on which store it has been resolved from, then you can use the host name to configure the multi-channel functionality. The store also have a lot of other configuration going on down here. We can create customers member when the customer checks out, and then we can choose which member group and member type those should be assigned to. The store contains catalogs. Right now we have a demo catalog. Everything is coming from our Avenue closing site, so that's fine. On the catalog we specify what is the default price group which is responsible for presenting the prices for the customer, and also if the price should be displayed with or without VAT, and if there's any additional price group allowed underneath this catalog. The catalog contains our categories, and those are the ones that we want to resolve in this exercise and present for our customer. On the category, we have the products that belongs to the category, we have media items that we can put on, we have the ability to change definition, so we can enrich this with more data if we want. And of course, we also support the multilingual values. So if you have installed multiple language in your Sitecore installation, all those languages will be represented as tabs here. So you can provide values for all the language specific fields that you have on your category. That also goes on for the product and the catalog and the catalog group as well. In our case, we have only English installed, so we are only seeing this tab here. Alright, there's no products in our tops right now because tops is just a top category, change categories. And this is where we will find all the products. Down in formal, we have all the shirts, and we have casual shirts down underneath casual. Alright, but the key thing here is that a category can contain categories, which means that we can get an infinitive deep category structure here. And that is something that you need to be aware of when you're creating a category navigation for your customer on your storefront. How big and how deep are your category structure, and how do you want to present it for your customer? In our case, this is how our structure looks like. So we will just present it one-to-one to keep it simple. But you need to be aware of that in Ucommerce you can have an infinitive deep category structure. And now that we know that, we can go back to the solution and create the functionality for rendering out the category navigation. So right now we have created the store item, which was bound together with our masterclass home controller right here. If we take a look at the view that we are returning in this controller, we will navigate to views, MC for masterclass, and then we can find our front page right here. And this is not doing much, but the important part here is that it has a layout set. And if you take a look at the layout, you will notice that there's a lot of things going on in here. But the important thing is that we have a render action down here, which is pointing at a masterclass partial view and a controller called category navigation. So right now we're actually already trying to render the category navigation. But if we take a look at the partial controller, masterclass partial view, you will see that the category navigation is not doing that much right now. So this is where we need to go in and fill out all the blanks so we can provide that category navigation for our customer. And to do that, we are going to need some using statements up here. The first one that we are going to use is the one called Ucommerce API, which is what we call the 80/20 API. It contains 80% of the commerce features out of the box, and then you have the ability to extend it, which covers the last 20%. And when we have the using statement up here, we are ready to get started on the code. Right now we are creating a category navigation view model here, which has a category collection on it. And we can use the map category method return value to assign to the category collection right there. The map categories are taking in a collection of categories coming from Ucommerce into TV2. This is the place where all the types are registered in Ucommerce. You will find the products, the shipping, the payment. So in this case, we want to make sure that we are resolving the categories from our store in the demo catalog that we have right now. And to do that, we can call Ucommerce API dot catalog library dot get root categories. Just like that. And you can see the get root categories is taking in an optional parameter called catalog ID. This is where we can go in and override the default behavior. Right now, because we only have one catalog, we will get the root categories for that. So now will we get the root categories, so the top level categories, and pass those into the map categories method down here, where we already have created a variable here that are going to be the categories to return in the end. So in here we can create a for each, which will have the responsibility to loop through all the categories to map and map those into our view model that then can be returned back to the view. So this will become categories to map, like that. And then we will create a new category view model here, like that. Then we can start mapping the fields that we want to display for our customer. First thing will be the name of the category in the categories, and we can take that from the category name. And then, because we now know that category can contain categories, so we need to account for that in here as well. So our category view model here also has a collection of categories that we need to make sure that are provided. And we will reuse the map categories method to account for this. So we can call map categories with Ucommerce API dot catalog library dot get categories instead. And then we can specify which category the child category is from. In this case, it will be the one that we are looping through right now, just like that. When that is done, we can add it to the collection to return. Add category view model, just like that. And then we will return the categories to return in the end, back to our category navigation that will be passed into our view right here. So now, if we build this solution and refresh our storefront here, we should get the category navigation rendered nicely for us here, corresponding to what we have in the back office of Ucommerce. But you will notice that right now you don't have the ability to navigate to any of them, which is sort of the point of having a category navigation. And also, if we go in to our catalog manager here again, and for example navigate to tops and change the display name for the English value here, so it's not the same as the name up here, to -en for example. And if we save this and refresh our storefront here, you'll notice that tops is not observing our multilingual values. So we don't have the ability to navigate to a category, and we are not observing the multilingual values at the moment. Let's try to accommodate for that down in the code here. So right now we are mapping the name, but that is the name for the category and not the display name, which is supporting the multilingual values. To do that, we will a new using statement up here, which is Ucommerce extension. That allows us to call category.displayName, which will be responsible for resolving the right display name depending on the culture that the customer is coming from, determined by the CMS. We also want to make sure that we can navigate to the category by clicking on it, so we have a URL on the category that we need to write a value for. In our case, we will specify /store /category. So when the customer clicks on a category, he will be navigated to a page called store/category in Sitecore. And then we need to make sure that Ucommerce knows which category it should resolve on that page. Because as default, Ucommerce only needs one dedicated page per category and also per product. That is also something that we will dive a lot more into during this masterclass. But for now, we will just keep it simple as possible. So we will have one page, dedicated page for presenting the categories, which is going to be underneath the store called category. And then we can tell Ucommerce which one is the current one that we want to resolve by specifying a query string parameter called category and set the value to be the category dot category ID, just like that. Let's build this. And refresh our web shop. And now you can see that Tops is observing the multilingual values. And it's also, if we click on one of the categories, we will be redirected to a category URL here. But Sitecore wasn't able to find the requested document yet because we haven't created it, so that makes sense. But now we have the ability to render all the categories in a category navigation, observe the multilingual values, and also redirecting our customer to a category page when he or she clicks on a category node in the category navigation. That's it. Now it is your turn to do this exercise. If you cannot remember all the steps that I went through, please use the handout as inspiration. It is underneath exercise 020, browse category navigation. When you have implemented the exercise, please continue this video. Welcome back. I hope you managed to implement the exercise so you can display the category navigation for your customer. In this exercise, we took a look at the catalog data we have inside Ucommerce, how that is structured, to make sure that we could create a category navigation for our storefront. First thing that we did was to create the new store inside Sitecore by creating a new template that we can use to base our new content item on. The content item we bind together with our masterclass home controller that are being populated by the masterclass solution based on the deploy file. And when we have the store set up correctly inside Sitecore, we explored how the catalog data was structured inside Ucommerce. We took a look at the store, the catalog, and the categories. And we noticed that a category can contain categories, which means that in Ucommerce, a category structure can be infinitive deep. And we need to be aware of that when we are creating the category navigation on our webshop. Then we use the Ucommerce API namespace to get the root categories and map those into a view model. We use the Ucommerce API get categories to get the child categories for a root category. So we map the whole tree structure. We returned that back to the layout so we could present the category navigation on our webshop. We also used the Ucommerce extension namespace to make sure that we could call display name on the category, which count for the multilingual values that you can specify on a category. We created an URL on the category by navigating the customer to a page called store/category and specify the query string parameter called category ID to let Ucommerce know what is the current category that the customer wants to look at. That's it. I hope you have enjoyed this exercise, and good luck with the rest of the masterclass.